What does the top of the AFC look like for you, in your opinion, right now?
Oh man, that's a good question. I feel like it's wide open in the sense that I know what the Chiefs are. The Chiefs are a good team that, on balance, once we get through 17 games, I think a lot of the teams that we expected to be there in the preseason, like the Chiefs, are going to be there at the end. That when you talk about the AFC elites, I think what's interesting though is, particularly when you look at the AFC West, what Brandon Staley has been able to do with the Chargers and the mentality that he's been able to bring. And now I know a lot of people have seen the clip now, but I kind of thought it was sort of the defining clip that explains why Brandon Staley has been really, you've seen a lot of people gravitate toward him, even when he was an assistant under Vic Fangio in Chicago, obviously when he moved on to Denver, and then with the Los Angeles Rams, when he talked about why the importance, and this is a defensive coach, a defensive predicated coach, talking about the running game and the commitment to, for lack of a better term, and I'll use the term here, violence, the commitment to hitting, the commitment to forcing the defense when you're playing offense, to know you're going to have to hit X number of snaps every single game. We're not just going to throw it. And I thought it was smart and bright of him to say, hey, look, when you throw the football, it doesn't mean that the defense is going to be forced to hit in that particular play. You're giving them the opportunity to not have to experience that physical toll. He said, but if you run it, whether you're successful or not, the defense has to commit to being violent on that given play. They have to commit to taking some punishment. I'll tell you right now, when I looked at the Chargers historically before this season, there was a lot of, it was talent there. We were always kind of like, man, the Chargers, even last year, we're like, is this the year where they kind of put it all together?
Yeah. I feel like we've been doing that for quite a few years. It does finally feel different though this time.
Yeah.
It does.
Yeah. And that I thought, when I asked myself, like, why do I feel different about the Chargers? And I definitely, even early on when you saw some success, I was slow to come around on them. Like, okay, we'll see. I've been on this train before and it's been disappointment. But now you've sort of seen them play a number of high-scoring teams and really play a very physical game, and kind of keep high-scoring teams as in check as you can. And I think that, to me, is why this feels different. Like you said, it just, their mentality and the way he talks about being a more physical, commanding, kind of dominating football team matters.
Yeah, part of I think what teams are doing well against the Chiefs and the wins right now is just getting them to run a few more plays than, as we talked about, the fast break offense. And you really saw the Chargers take advantage of that in being able to force the 4 turnovers, which wound up being the difference between the Chiefs and Chargers in that game. But here we fast forward to Sunday Night Football, 7:20 p.m. We know the whole NBC 41 KSHB in Kansas City surround that's going to go into this game. Heading into this Bills matchup, what intrigues you the most about the Kansas City Chiefs?
I mean, the number one DVOA offense versus the number one DVOA defense in the Buffalo Bills. I mean, to me, that's intriguing. And I think, to me, last week, when the win last week, I saw the Kansas City offense that I'm used to, that we're all used to. That, Patrick Mahomes is capable of throwing 5 touchdown passes. Tyreek Hill goes crazy. Like, that was the time where I'm like, okay, that's the team I remember. The problem is, defensively, again, going back to the DVOA numbers, that analysis, they've been near the bottom of the league defensively, both in pass coverage and pass rush, which is brutal. You can't, defensively, you can't. They have to find a way to scheme to get the pass rush in a way that does not expose them on the back end. And I just don't know how you do that. I don't know how you can send or dial up exotic looks without putting your corners on an island, or having to operate with one single high safety, or, there's just only so many things you can do when both the very front end of your defense and the back end are not operating in unison, and you're having miscommunication, which I thought, Tyrann Mathieu said recently. He was talking about, just the miscommunication that's going on defense. I'm hoping in my mind, when I look at the Chiefs, because I want them to play at the highest level they can on both sides of the ball, it is a miscommunication issue on defense, where it's just, these guys just aren't on the same page right now. Maybe everyone on the field isn't seeing the same thing at the same time. As the season goes on, that begins to work itself out a little bit more. Offensively, I think Josh Gordon, great addition. Very curious to see what he looks like and what he can look like in this offense. No guarantees here, because when they brought in Le'Veon Bell, I thought, hey, okay, great. There's this talent.
And LaShawn McCoy.
And
it's like we get a veteran like this all the time. Yeah.
That's a good point. Yeah. So is it going to be another in a long line of these veterans who are brought in maybe a little past their heyday or whatever? And we think, okay, well, this is obviously naturally the perfect offense for them to, experience that second wind, and then it doesn't happen. So, we'll see with Gordon whether or not he can be what I think is that fundamentally important third option next to Kelsey and Tyreek Hill.